Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics. Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 7. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Lovecraftian Mike Christensen.
Oh, snap.
Hello, Jay. I always knew it! All the powers and special things, you were some deep space...
Yeah, Cthulhu, dragon.
We're going to do this entire podcast in Lovecraftian. If you don't have your translation...
Not prepared to do an entire podcast in Lovecraftian.
I have it all written out right here.
Yeah, the super mundane is going to really get into Eldritch horror.
Yeah, it's going to get really, really dark and really grim. Very, very sad main segment as well.
The interesting thing is that... this is actually a podcast that's being relayed. This is just our journals after we've gone insane from the horrors of the reality that we live in. So
this is just in screaming into the darkness.
Yeah. We're unreliable narrators at this point.
Very unreliable at this. So, well, good luck to everyone who's about to listen. We'll all be insane in about 30 minutes or so.
Here we go.
Woo! All right.
Great start.
Great start. So, pull list. That thing that we do.
So,
where do we go from here?
So every episode, we talk about the comics that we're reading. We talk about something off of our poll list. Jay, what comics are you reading? What's on your poll list? What should we be reading?
Poll list this week is actually Grayson #1.
Okay.
This issue just dropped the other day. This is the brand new direction of Dick Grayson, who, as people might know, or if you don't know, Dick Grayson was the first Robin to Batman and Robin, and he went on to then do his own thing with Nightwing, and then recently, I guess in a current arc of, I believe it's Forever Evil, which is one of DC's big events right now, Dick Grayson was presumed dead or killed, and even beyond that, his identity was revealed to the world.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And he didn't make any deals with the devil to get, to save his wife or come back and everyone forgets. So.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity.
Because fans love it.
Fans love it.
When you undo your marriage with devil worship.
With devil worship. It's really the best way to go. But they went a different way with this.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, there's no way we're not going to cover that comic in an upcoming episode.
Oh, yeah. So you just hold on. Like, what here are they talking about? Something about a devil and... We'll get to it.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Just wait for
new day?
No. One more day.
One more day. That's right.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Don't Google it, everybody. Just wait. Anyway, so
don't Google it.
Grayson 1. So this is written by Tim Seeley, and it's drawn by Mikel Janin. I believe it's Michael, Mikel. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Mikel, maybe? Mikel Janin?
I'm not sure.
I really have a difficult time with some of these artist names.
That's funny how you draw the ones who are really tough.
I know. It's never like John Doe and Jane Doe drawing your favorite comic. But anyway, so Grayson 1. So where we leave off from Dick Grayson supposedly being killed is, I guess they just dive right into this. Again, kind of a new thing, and I believe DC is almost playing a little bit to some of what Marvel's been able to do, which is where they're taking a very different, very completely new take on a character, and they just throw you in.
Yeah.
We've seen that with a lot of Marvel titles, and I feel like DC's starting to pick up on that vibe. We're getting hints and at some new things starting to come and work with DC that are some big, drastic changes in that way. But yeah. This issue opens with Dick Grayson having blonde hair and jumping onto a moving train, I believe in Russia.
No, not in any sort of costume.
No, not in any costume.
Well,
he has a special ops kind of like tight, outfit, but it's not like, there's no like bird or anything on it. He's not wearing a mask. It's him with long blonde hair jumping onto the top of a train. And very much, they don't shy away from this. He has a holstered gun at his side. Okay. So they're straight up going for Dick Grayson is now no longer a superhero. We are thrust into he is a special agent of some kind, and he's a special agent for a organization known as Spiral, which I guess has had some nefarious background in the past. They were known for, I think, kidnapping super people or whatever it might be. Okay. But he's there. He's on this train. We don't know why. He has a quick little scuffle with a guy on a train. He actually takes him out Batarang style with his own pistol. So if anybody was worried that Dick Grayson was going to immediately just cold-cocked shoot a guy in the head in the first panel or two of Grayson 1, he doesn't. He's still very much Nightwing.
Good.
And he dives into the train. So now we've got very much what feels like a really fun and cool kind of Bond, Jason Bourne-esque comic where Dick Grayson is now, finding, I guess, his target or his mark on the train. And we've got some cool plays with him, like spilling wine on a girl, accidentally, quote unquote. And he really plays up this fun charm and wit like this guy's been doing it for years. And it's really fun, really cool. And I won't ruin any more of the spy or shadowy cool stuff that we get into. It's true to the Dick Grayson character, even though he is in this new kind of special ops. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Cool.
And how it tails off at the end is it's, has very much of like, because we're wondering, what is he doing with this organization? We hear that they're shady. What's going on? There's like weird powers and stuff. And we kind of get a hint at the end that maybe Dick Grayson is a double agent and working against this agency. We don't know.
Oh, interesting.
And there's a really cool hook. I won't ruin it at the end, but definitely check it out. Grayson 1 is definitely, this new series is definitely something to keep a lookout for.
Terrific.
All right. Mike, what is your pull for this week?
Today I'm going to be talking about She-Hulk. She-Hulk is another Marvel Now title, a little more recent. They're in their, I think they're 5 or 6 issues in right now. And it's written by Charles Soule, S-O-U-L-E. And the artist for the first 4, at least, is Javier Pulido. It's someone different for 5, but really like the first 4 are a great sort of jumping on point anywhere in there. Again, last week we talked about Thor, God of Thunder, and how they had a kind of legal bent for that one arc for the last days of Midgard. She-Hulk, for those who may not be aware, is a lawyer. And she's a lawyer as her Hulk form. She's not like our...
She doesn't have like a secret identity.
She's not our main brand Hulk where she can't control her rage, and she doesn't have a secret identity. She is Jennifer Walters, and everyone knows her as She-Hulk, and she goes into courtrooms green and
she's green all the time, right? So
she doesn't have to be, but she chooses to be. Because
really?
Why not? Yeah.
And it might be just my I don't know very much about She-Hulk, but she can be not green?
Yeah, she's very infrequently not green, because why would you be? Like, she just prefers to be green. She's more often than not, she's green. At least that's my understanding.
It's almost like a nice Shrek relation there. It's like, this is my true form of happiness.
Yeah, kind of. It's just like, it's just why would you not be? She's awesome.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't lose any bonus benefits for being, green. Like, she's got all her faculties.
Yeah.
And she's a lawyer, and the first issue opens with her at this big firm, and kind of getting a talking to about their priorities, and she basically doesn't get the promotion, and she's really bummed she's not going to be a partner, and becomes very clear that she's there as like the token hero kind of lawyer in terms of like not like they needed a daredevil, but in terms of like she brings in that business.
Right.
That's
she's
all
like, we come to you
for.
guys because you have a She-Hulk. Like,
exactly.
You have a superhero on staff.
And that's like she's sort of a celebrity who's hired because of that status and not actually utilized to her full capacity. She's got one case that's hers, and everything else they're like, don't worry about it.
That's really cool.
And then she's like, you know what? I don't want to work here anymore. Your priorities are totally out of order. You've got this lovely Wakandan table that costs $15,000 or whatever, and I'm just going to bail. And they're like, all right, well, you can have the blue file, but other than that, we're keeping all the cases.
Is it a vibranium table?
I don't think so, because she cuts it in half with her finger.
Oh, missed opportunity.
No, because like I don't remember if it's Wakandan or Latverian, but it's definitely like some like ridiculous imported thing that she just slices in half. She taps it and it just snaps in half. That's basically her pink slip or her,
Right. And I'm out of here.
Her poop on the desk as she leaves.
As we all do, of course, when we leave.
Right? Obviously.
It's normal.
And then she's not sure what she wants to do, but someone basically comes to her and says, hey, I've got this sort of problem. My husband died, and he was in supervillainy, and he's got this warehouse full of technology, and we're kind of in a legal battle with Stark over the ownership. And then, so she goes up in the first issue against Tony Stark's lawyer and legal defense system, which is basically there to insulate Tony Stark from any legality. So it's basically a human who has to operate like a machine to catch anything. And there's no room for error, and it's an incredible... I don't want to get into the specifics, but like it's really cool. And then in the second issue, we get to see like where she set up shop, and
does she start her own firm basically?
Kind of, yeah. She's got herself, and she hires a paralegal in the second issue, and that's kind of it. But they had to find a place where you can like run a superhero business and like afford the lease, or someone will actually lease to her.
Because I guess they're taking it a little bit more literal, other than Daredevil and Murdoch and Nelson, when they had to deal with like clients like supervillains break in all the time and destroy your building.
This is literally like, you basically, because she's superhuman, she's talking to her landlord, and she's like, you got kind of weird setup here. And the landlord's like, didn't you have a really hard time finding a place, like with your being who you are and your public? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, well, that's what this place is. And there's people like walking through the walls, like into their different offices that they have set up. Or there's a guy like walking up a wall.
So it's almost like an X Mansion, but for like business.
It's a little bit like somewhere between the X Mansion or Horizon Labs from Spider-Man, which was basically just anything goes. And here's this think tank. They're all doing their own thing. So there's like a conference table that they all have to kind of share. So like one guy goes in, he's like, oh, I didn't realize you had it. I just wanted to test my device, and he tests it, and a chair explodes. He's like, oh, need more testing, and like wanders away. And you're like, all right, so this is what this place is. And it's just sort of, it's just like great, New York brick building. And the third and fourth issue, not getting into a lot of details, but basically she has to represent Dr. Doom's son, Christoph, who wants asylum from Latveria, which means she is going against
toe-to-toe with
the wishes of Doom. It's really great.
That's really cool.
I don't want to get into any more details than that. We've talked about Dr. Doom a lot last week.
So really there's a comic out there that I'm getting my wish of seeing superheroes have to do legal battles with each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
You do have a good note about that. Of some of the Marvel titles that are more kind of down-to-earth, like Hawkeye, like what it sounds like She-Hulk. I think you had 2 weeks ago in our previous episode, you talked about Miss Marvel. It sounds like a lot of these more down-to-earth heroes, a lot of their series is now just like they lay out their day-to-day life, and instead of doing big arcs like they do with, like I'd mentioned I think 2 weeks ago with Thor, with like God Bomb, and now he's doing this, like it's more of like this is what their everyday life is. Things are going to move in and out, but Hawkeye is still fighting,
Russian mobsters,
trench or what,
it's the street level heroes. I mean, that's what works with them. I mean, Punisher is like in LA now, I think. I haven't read the title, but it's much more like a cable, like a Showtime drama.
Yeah, almost procedural a little bit.
Yeah, something like that. So
I think I mentioned before Moon Knight. Moon Knight is 100% procedural. Quite literally every issue of Moon Knight right now it begins about a story and it ends at the end. There is no arc between
and that's
the two.
Really all due to the success of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
There's no way any of this would have existed. We wouldn't have had this version of She-Hulk if not for Hawkeye.
I mean, that had to be one of the hardest pitches of, so Hawkeye just fights, I forget what he calls them, but jumpsuit Draculas or something?
It's literally like, hey guys, don't worry, it's Hawkeye, but it's the Rockford Files. Don't worry, it'll be good.
It'll be really great. There's a pizza dog. But
I would have loved to have been in the room for that. But definitely check out She-Hulk. It's a really fun series. Check out Grayson #1. Yeah, that sounds
awesome. I haven't picked up She-Hulk. It's been on a list, and I'm definitely going to check that out now. It's my wish come true. All right. Well, that was our pull list, and now we're going to move into our Meg segment. Mike, take it away.
The incredible origins of Groot and Rocket Raccoon. So there's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out on Friday.
I've heard about it. It's in space, I believe.
So here's the thing. The Guardians of the Galaxy are not the Avengers.
Nope.
They have not had a continuous title for 50 years. They haven't had a continuous title for 10 years. They are just this really weird choice. They're really fun characters, and this lineup is a really interesting team dynamic as well. These are not characters. These are obscure characters, even by Marvel character standards.
I think when they announced the movie, like people like did a universal
double take.
It's like, what is this? What is their next franchise?
Because in the last 10 years or so, the characters have really had a renaissance with the cosmic Marvel storylines. But before then, like Rocket Raccoon had a miniseries. Groot showed up in 2 issues. Star-Lord, like 6 issues, maybe like 10 issues over 30 years. These are characters who didn't have a lot of play.
Right. The advantage, though, it seems, from what I've gathered from the team, is that they are very, it's a raccoon with big guns. It's a tree that punches people.
Like, I mean, it sells itself.
You don't have to give them, like, a Batman-esque deep backstory, basically. You don't have to give them Matt Murdock's years of torture and,
I mean, I can't speak to Drax and Gamora on that front, but at least and then Star-Lord has his kind of demons as well. Rocket and Groot are pretty straightforward. You can get them right real easily.
Yeah.
And they're the characters we're going to focus on because I have a sinking feeling, not a sinking feeling, that's the wrong word. I have a very good feeling that those guys are going to be the breakout stars. But so today we're talking about the first issues where Groot shows up and the first issue where Rocket Raccoon shows up.
All right.
We're going to do Groot first because he's been around longer than the Fantastic Four.
What?
He appeared, okay, so before the Fantastic Four, Marvel wasn't Marvel. It was Timely, or it wasn't even Timely anymore. It was Atlas Comics.
Okay.
And they were kind of just doing their thing, monster comics. They had romance comics, monster comics, and maybe some other things.
Okay.
And Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were just crapping these things out. And that is the right phrase for that. Because literally, we've talked about the Marvel method before, where they would have sort of meetings and they'd work out a script. There might be a typed summary, but that is certainly not a guarantee. That's not a given by any means. And a lot of it was just conversation and verbal. There were actually quotes from Jack Kirby's family, where he'll be drawing an issue of Fantastic Four, he'll describe the issue, then he'll draw it, the kid will read it and be like, this isn't the story you described at all. Oh, really? What did I describe? You described this story, and this and this and this happened. Well, that sounds really cool. Yeah, that's what you were going to draw.
I have done that.
That's what you said you were doing. 22 pages later, that's not what you drew, because they was just flying by the seat of their pants and making things up as they went along, and they managed to sell it because they're incredible professionals. But before Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four came about because Justice League was successful across the street. And, literally, Stan Lee's editor was like, let's try superheroes again. I know we got creamed after the 50s, but let's try superheroes. All right, here's these guys, and it's Fantastic Four, and they all have problems, and then the history was made.
And then there we go.
Before that, it was literally like Stan would walk into Jack's office and say, Gru, Mongor, just do a thing. Just a thing with monsters
I just made.
Like, it would just be like, Rangvox, and then they would draw a creature, a big hairy monster would come out of the forest and attack, and some well-meaning humans would shoot it, and some scrappy underdog would beat it. It was just the most generic, run-of-the-mill monster stories.
His name was Trevor, and he lived at the end of the cul-de-sac, and every week he fought a new monster. Tune in for this week when Trevor punches Kavakvarsak.
Oh, that really playing into the Lovecraft on that one.
It's coming. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, but, well, you looked into the abyss, and the abyss
That's
looks
true.
back.
We are going slowly insane, so it makes sense.
So here's what this issue's about. And this came out in November 1960, which is, I think, a year or two before the Fantastic Four. And Fantastic Four, remember, those guys are monsters. Mm-hmm. Not just the Thing, but the human, not the Human Torch as much, but Mr. Fantastic.
Really? The guy who lights his body entirely on fire?
There was a precedent for him. That's actually a Golden Age hero, too. But Mr. Fantastic, stretches, and that's a weird, gross power.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
And they're weird people, so... They definitely had a monster sense going into these. And the romance comics that Jack Kirby was doing. They mashed those two together and made Spider-Man. But Tales to Astonish number 13 is titled, I Challenged Groot, the Monster from Planet X.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We're introduced to a biologist named Leslie, who is constantly berated by his wife. His wife's Alice, and she always thinks he's weak and unmanly. He's not rugged like the men in the movies, and he's not brave like the other men in town. But they're driving at night, and she's talking shit, and this beam of light streaks out of the sky and lands in the forest. Mm-hmm. And Leslie wants to check it out, but Alice says, no, just take me home. I want to go home. So fine, they go home, which is fine. That's understandable. Right. In our everyday life, that does happen. True. Maybe not beams of light, but sort of oh, that looks cool. Should we check it out? No, I want to go home and catch the radio or whatever.
Yeah, it all depends, I guess, on how ridiculous the beam of light was.
That's true. The next few days, a few of their trees go missing.
Just trees in their backyard.
Just trees in their backyard or in their front yard. Just
and let's be honest, that's not that's odd.
Maybe I misplaced it.
Flowers have been trampled on.
Did you check under the couch cushions? Oh, wait, it's a tree. And Alice points out that her neighbors, some of her fence posts are gone. And Leslie was like, remember a couple days ago? I'm going to go check out the forest. I'm going to go check out the forest.
Okay.
And he goes in there, and there's a giant man made of wood. This what we know as Groot. Right. Although his design looks a little different, but you can see it kind of there. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put a picture of early Groot.
Check out the show notes if anyone's... Yeah,
exactly. And these wooden objects, dressers and things, are coming towards him. They seem to be animated, and they're moving towards him and melding into his body, and he's getting bigger. And Leslie just goes...
So he's absorbing...
He's absorbing them. It's sort of Iron Giant, except instead of eating them, they're melting into his body, presumably. Okay. And Leslie goes to try to convince the sheriff. And we don't get the scene of, like, oh, of course I don't believe you, Leslie, because immediately the 50-foot monster attacks and saves him the trouble. And he calls out,
"What's wrong, Leslie? That thing! That freaking thing right there!"
He basically says, "Why won't you believe me?" And a deputy runs in and goes, Sheriff?
Like this giant tree?
This is happening. And Groot, this monster shouts, "Earthlings, hear me! I am Groot, monarch of Planet X." Note,
so
monarch
Groot is a king.
He is the king of Planet X.
He is the king of the planet.
Seems that way, or at least a king of the planet.
Well, that is different than what I knew about Groot.
Exactly. I have come to take an Earth village, your village, back to my planet. We want to study you, to experiment on you. And someone shouts, "He wants to kill us! Shoot it!" Which, no.
That's not what he said.
But fair.
I get the reaction.
Fair enough.
And it would have been only weirder if everybody was like, okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I mean, I can keep my house, right?
Pack my bags. Oh, you're taking the village. Okay, we're good then.
Cool. They're just going to uproot the whole thing. We'll just take a trip to space.
So they open fire, and then Groot lays out his plan. It's funny you said uproot. He's going to surround the village with trees, because he can control trees.
Does he tell them this?
Yeah. Okay. He tells them, this is the plan. I'm going to surround the village. All the trees are going to surround your village. Then the roots are going to wrap underneath the village as a net. Then those trees are going to fly your village into space, and then our scientists are going to study you.
You puny Earthlings didn't know your trees could fly, did you?
Then there's a picture of basically these trees have made a net, and the village is chilling in the vacuum of space.
So it's just immediate cut to plan was successful.
This is the plan.
Okay.
We're seeing the plan.
We're seeing what would or could be.
Yeah. Which seems legit. Yeah. Just take the forest. Take the village.
At a certain point, it's like flying trees, but it's like, look, you're talking to a sentient monarch from a planet X that is 50 feet tall.
My point is that this village is not airtight. And there's no net over the village. Mm-hmm. It's just underneath. So these guys are dying in the vacuum of space in this plan.
Yeah, Groot just may not have made that next connection that he just met. He just landed here, so he's like, "Oh right, these things need oxygen." He
doesn't know that trees need oxygen.
I don't know.
The science is.
He's a magic tree.
These
trees are about to fly. He might have injected them.
Hey, he's not a tree. He's a monarch.
He's a monarch.
Planet X.
Planet X.
Leslie runs up and challenges Groot, and Groot's like, no. Like, basically, and then he runs away, and Groot starts to try to chase him, and someone calls out, like, he's running away, and someone else is like, well, can you blame him? And they start opening fire on Groot, and it's to no avail. Mm-hmm. And they actually try to light him on fire, and it doesn't work. He's not catching.
Interesting.
And Leslie is...
He's a very moist tree.
Well, he's durable. He's just not burning. And the trees are surrounding the village. They are moving into place. They are forming their fairy ring around the village, and Leslie is at home doing science on his biologist lab.
He is now home. He has gotten away from
He's run home. He's working on the microscope, and he's looking at things, and Alice is standing behind him just telling him how weak he is and yelling at him for being spineless.
How dare you run from that 50-foot monster?
For not helping out, not helping the men fight this monster. And he's just standing there sciencing, just not even acknowledging. And then Groot is, his trees are starting to form the net underneath the village, and Leslie's like, all right, I'm done and I'm ready, and he runs up and he opens up a box. He's like, all right, just a few minutes, and then Groot just drops dead.
What?
And then it was like, how did you do it? And he's like, well, what I was doing? I was breeding termites.
He just went home and bred a bunch of termites?
I guess overnight he just bred termites, and then...
Oh, so it's easy. Just throw out a few sugar cubes, they get crazy in there, and we got termites.
you just play some Miley Cyrus, and they just go nuts.
They just get nuts up in there.
You just close the box.
Drop some Molly in there, and they just go crazy.
You put it in a bottle, you start spinning it, close the box.
Those termites, you leave those termites alone for too long, then things get out of hand.
You just put on the Barry Whites.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
All you termites out there.
So then and Alice says, I'll never complain about you again, Leslie, which, we'll see. Except no, we won't, because we'll never see either of them again.
We'll never see them again.
That's the first appearance of Groot.
So he comes to Earth to basically do science experiments on them.
To take them to his planet to do science.
And is quickly murdered.
Yeah.
Eaten alive by termites.
Not eaten alive, just killed. Because he doesn't like fall apart. He just drops dead.
Like almost War of the Worlds style. I got the sniffles, dead.
Do they eat his internal organs?
Maybe his brain? And just like almost like an aneurysm or something?
Yeah, and I know he made a couple more appearances before showing up in Annihilators or in a Star-Lord miniseries during Annihilation. That's when he came back.
And was he still 2006. That old Groot?
He was a monarch. He was verbose and animate and talking, and then over the next few years, his character kind of transitioned into... They talk about him as a monarch, they talk about him as a scientist and brilliant, but he only says, "I am Groot."
Interesting.
That's his only line ever,
do they ever explain why he only says, "I am Groot"?
There's a character in the Inhumans who... They don't explain the change.
Okay.
They explain that when he says, "I am Groot," he is using other words. His language is more subtle than ours. So we hear "I am Groot," and this one guy, who by the way is certifiably mad, is like, no, you're not hearing all the science. He's talking all sorts of science, and he's incredibly intelligent. How dare you mock the monarch? And Rocket's like, no, he's clearly saying "I am Groot." Like I'm not an idiot.
We're all hearing the same thing.
And he's looking at it. He's like, so these guys are insane, right? Like we're crazy for trusting them. Meanwhile, Maximus, I think is his name, is like, so you're saying we should undo the Heisenberg uncertainty matrix? I am Groot. Oh, I had not thought of that. Yes, we must reverse the polarity. Okay, guys.
Interesting.
But it happened gradually because there's a panel. I haven't read all these comics. They're on a shelf.
The comics where Groot did science.
But there's a panel where Rocket says something like, "Well, shall we?" And Groot says something like, "Well, I am Groot." So they're like transitioning, and now it's just "I am Groot." Like at all times, he always says "I am Groot." He has also been blown up and regrown several times.
So it might be this regeneration is slowly
maybe it's just like it's deteriorating, or he's aging. You never know. He loses his verboseness.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's Groot.
I don't know much about magic tree biology, so this could be very legitimate.
Common. Yeah.
Very common.
That's Groot. Now let's talk about Rocket Raccoon.
Rocket Raccoon.
Now,
he is a raccoon, I hear?
So we're talking about a comic called Incredible Hulk 271, which is called "Now Somewhere in the Black Holes of Sirius Major, there lived a young boy named Rocket Raccoon."
There lived a young boy?
Name of Rocket Raccoon.
All right.
I think it's probably like a song quote or something. I don't know. I mean,
really?
Rocket Raccoon is named after a Beatles song. This could be something similar. I don't know.
That's awesome.
It's written by Bill Mantlo, drawn by Sal Buscema. And it came out in May 1982. This is about 20 years later.
Okay.
This is in the middle of a storyline, so it's not going to make any damn sense. But Hulk is sleeping on in a field of red grass.
Okay.
We are on another planet.
Stage is set.
Yes. He's sleeping, and a laser gun is pointed at his head, and we pan out, and there's a anthropomorphic raccoon pointing a gun at him, and a walrus, which has these little mechanical appendages, one of which is examining him, and one of which is pointing a gun at him.
Okay.
This is Rocket Raccoon, guardian of Keystone Quadrant, and his friend and first mate, Walrus.
I don't really know what I could say. I mean, I got nothing to say.
They're examining this Hulk that they found, and they hear this noise, and they know what it is. It's a giant robotic lawnmower, a robo-mower, which is this huge, like, tank-like lawnmower. And they try to wake him up, and they try to drag the Hulk away. I don't know why. Like,
Did they write this comic at 3 a.m? They're like, his name is Walrus, and that song, what was that song again? Rocket Raccoon.
Don't tell me that the robo-mower isn't the best.
Robo-mower.
Rocket fights it. Rocket has, like, these rocket boots, basically, and he's flying around the robo-mower trying to shoot it, but not working. And then the shots wake up the Hulk, who just smashes the robo-mower, and they're like, "Oh, well, great, awesome.
We are friends now."
So Walrus's fuzz detector goes off.
Fuzz detector?
It's for the cops. The police.
Oh my!
The fuzz.
That's great. That's okay. They get some points back for
yes.
that one.
And these cops show up, and they are the Keystone Quadrant cops.
Nice.
And they look like Keystone Cops from the 20s, like, silent movies. Like, they look exactly like that.
That's pretty great.
And Hulk's like, "We run from cops. Cops are bad." And he's like, "Yeah, these cops." There's basically say these cops are enforcing law and disorder.
Law and disorder. Interesting.
Because they are corrupt.
Okay.
Basically. So they get onto Rocket's ship, and there's Rocket and Walrus do a lot of bickering about whose ship this is, and but it's weirdly backwards. Like,
did Rocket win it from Walrus in a race?
No, like Rocket's like, "It's our ship," and Wal's like, "It's your ship. It's named after you." Well, that's because it rhymed, like, or whatever. Like, it's that kind of thing.
Pretty convenient. convenient.
Exactly. Well, that's basically what he says. Like, oh, that's awfully convenient. We could have called it something that rhymed with my name.
Yeah.
They explained that they found Hulk on Half-World. They call it Half-World because half of the world is covered in this industrial wasteland where all these automatons work for a giant robot-shaped spaceship named Ship. And we only glimpse it. It's basically like a sentinel, but it's like 20 stories tall lying down. Like, it's huge.
Jeez.
And then
and it's called Ship.
Yep. And the other half is anthropomorphic animals.
All right.
So that's where we are. We learn about the bad guys. Basically, the villain is named Judson Jakes.
Judson Jakes?
Yep.
All right.
He's a mole, and he's a gangster, basically. But he's the head of the Interstellar Mechanics. His second in command is Uncle Pico, who's the sinister tortoise. He churns out automaton assassins like the killer clowns. They're cyborg clowns.
There are cyborg killer clowns?
Then there's these things called the Draculars, which are these weird... They don't look at all like vampires. They don't look at all like bats. But they basically apparently are mutated bats.
Draculars.
And they hire mercenaries like the Black Bunny Brigade.
Oh, goodness. That sounds awesome.
So that's the status quo.
You're telling me this whole story is about the Black Bunny Brigade, right? Because
I'm telling you it's all about a murderous mole who has all these guys working for him. Judson is after the greatest treasure in Keystone. It's called Gideon's Bible.
What?
And they get word that it's at Cuckoo's Nest is where Gideon's Bible is kept. Cuckoo's Nest is like a village or something. But it's under attack. And that's where Walrus's niece is. Walrus's niece, Lila, is Rocket's girlfriend.
For everyone listening,
she's an otter.
We're on a planet, half robots, half anthropomorphic creatures. We're following Hulk with Rocket Raccoon and a guy named Walrus, and
he's a walrus.
And he's a walrus. Now you said his niece,
Walrus's niece, who is
Rocket's girlfriend.
Yeah, Lila.
They are against a guy named Judson Jakes, who has
Uncle Pico,
who's an
evil tortoise,
and they have a bunch of awesome evil henchmen that are bunny ninjas and Draculars and pretty amazing stuff. And they're going to get her back, right, Lydia?
Yep. Well, Cuckoo's Nest is attacked. They go to try to save them from the Black Bunnies. Lila's gone, and Gideon's Bible is gone.
Okay.
And there's a line here. The narrator tells us, "Murder darkens Rocket Raccoon's eyes." Which is just, and there's no like exclamation point like in the Stan Lee or even at this point. It's just
plainly written.
Murder darkens Rocket Raccoon's eyes.
It's pretty good.
Like it's like, oh wow, like this is deep. It may be the greatest sentence ever.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fantastic.
The villains all work on this space station called Space Wheel because it does that rotating thing that space stations do. They call it Space Wheel, and they make a note that everyone's got nausea. Like, or like Justin's like,
why do we have it do?
Justin's like, remind me to adjust the angle because everyone's getting nauseous. And it's like, wouldn't you know that was going to be an issue? Like, wouldn't it? Whatever. Don't worry about it. No one can read Gideon's Bible. It's incomprehensible to everyone.
Okay.
So Jakes is like, Pico, you're going to figure this out. And Pico's like, look, I'm not a miracle worker. I'm just a brilliant scientist. And
is
like,
Gideon's Bible just a tome of magic?
It's a tome of they don't know what.
Everybody wants it.
Everybody wants it. No one can read it.
Like
it's this treasure. It's this valued treasure.
Like the Book of Eli, basically.
The Book of Eli was in Braille, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
It's more like
only one person.
It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah,
it's like this relic that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, the I didn't say this, but the Keystone Quadrant cops are human.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah,
robots, anthropomorphic creatures, and human,
but only the Keystone cops.
Interesting.
Anyway, Rocket and Hulk fight clowns in space. It's awesome.
Obviously,
it's so great. I mean, it's exactly what you think it is. And you shoot them.
These are the robot clowns, right?
These are the killer clowns. That's what they're called.
Oh my god!
And you shoot them, and like robot parts come out. So like, who cares?
I was half hoping you were going to say confetti and like sparklers shoots.
And we learn basically, Rocket asks like, "Why do you guys so intend on killing me?" Well, if we kill you, then we get life. Like that's our reward. And he's like, oh, a life for a life, huh? And then they just throw him away into space. Like they just shoot him. It's awesome. They have lasers that come out of their eyes. It's the best, guys. It's the best.
We have to get pictures of this up in the notes.
There's a lot of other things that's going to be in the show notes from this comic.
All right.
Trust me. They smash their way into the space station. They find Lila held hostage by one of the Black Bunny Brigade guys.
Okay.
And Hulk manages to get her free by doing that thing where he hits the ground and there's a shockwave and he knocks them loose. And they free Lila. Again, she's an otter.
Let's reiterate.
I want to make sure you guys are all You all have these black bunnies holding an otter hostage. They make their way through the station, but as they're running, someone calls in the Hulk to another room, and it's Uncle Pico. And he's got Earth up on the screen. He's like, that's your home, right? Yes, that's where Betty is. That's where Rick is, although in the Hulk speak.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, well, I can send you home. You don't belong here. And Hulk's like, oh, okay. Meanwhile, Rocket is fighting these Draculars, which they don't look like that much like bats, but they're these weird, stretchy kind of creatures that are said to be mutated bats. And Rocket is cursing Judson for making these people, their people, into monsters. And Judson's like...
so these are just, like, genetically mutated.
Yeah. And Judson's like, maybe your people. I'm above you guys. No, you're a mole.
Dark stuff in this anthropomorphic.
He feels he's beyond animal existence. And Pico says he can send Hulk home because he knows the secret of the first comers. And they're the ancestors of the Keystone Quadrant Cops. And they're the ancestors of whoever wrote the Gideon's Bible. He knows all their secrets. He can read the book. And he's, these people are the ancestors of Keystone Cops and of the Hulk, of your people. So we get the sense like, okay, humans were in place here, and we don't know how that worked out. But
there's a lot of layers going on.
He also straight up tells the Hulk that Hulk upsets the power balance between his technology and the other animals. And he says like, you don't belong here. You're upsetting the balance of things. And Hulk's like, yeah, I don't belong here. I don't like it here. Like, send me home to my people. So he does. He just sends him, like, Galaxy Quest style, like, in through the sky. Meanwhile...
And this guy keeps his word? He's just like, yeah, let's just send him out back to Earth.
That's all he wanted, is to get him out of the way.
All right.
Judson surrenders, and he's like, yeah, Pico, bring in that book. And Pico's like, all right, and sends the Hulk home, and comes in. He's like, yeah, I couldn't make heads or tails of this thing. He doesn't say that, although that's a missed opportunity.
It really
based on the pun.
Yeah.
But he says, like, I couldn't make anything out of it. You can have it. But he also knows things, because he says, like, they say they're going to return it to Cuckoo's Nest. And he's like, oh, yeah, that book's nonsense. So that's a fitting name if I ever heard one. They're like, why? No one knows what Cuckoo's Nest is, why it's called that. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right, I forgot. And they're like, okay, well, great, we got the book back, bye. And Judson's like, you couldn't read it? He's like, no, it was all Greek to me. Well, what's Greek? Don't worry about it. So clearly this guy knows more than he's letting on.
That is so interesting.
But then, like, and Rocket sees Hulk rocket past. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, pun not intended.
We're gonna let that go.
He sees him fly past. He's like, why'd he go home? Oh, what a bummer. And basically, gets on his ship and he's like, well, hopefully our paths will cross again someday. And meanwhile, Hulk goes by and has a weird, crazy adventure in his arc. There's, like, alien documentary filmmakers on his planet that are dealing with Rick and Betty. That's super weird, and we didn't get into it.
We never end up finding out what's going on with the tortoise and what he knows.
Well, there is a Rocket Raccoon miniseries. And I actually want to take a minute. I know that's kind of the end of our main segment, but before we get into our game at the end, I want to take a minute. Bill Mantlo was the writer who created Rocket Raccoon, and about 24 years ago, he was in a hit and run. He was hit by a car. And in a closed skull brain injury, and he isn't able to live on his own. He has to be supported, but insurance just is not anything. There's really terrific articles by the Hero Initiative, which is all about people like Bill Mantlo, people who comics creators don't get percentages.
Yeah, they don't get much from what they do.
Bill Mantlo is not going to get any money from Guardians of the Galaxy. He just isn't, because that's not how work for hire works. But what I'm going to do is just donate the cost of every one of my tickets for Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm probably going to see that movie 3 or 4 times. And I mean, knowing me and knowing that movie, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to match my donations, match my tickets with donations.
And, obviously...
And you can donate straight to him. Or you can donate to the Hero Initiative for people like him, or for the Kirby Estates.
Please check out the Hero Initiative. We're going to include these links in the show notes.
There's a lot of places to go.
So please check it out. All right, well... that was our main segment, and now we're gonna be rolling into our game, which is Super Mundane.
Every other episode, we have a different game segment. This week, it's Super Mundane. Jay will throw out a hypothetical situation. Who would be the best at mundane tasks that you and I can do easily? We're gonna figure out which hero would be the best at them, and which hero would be the worst at them.
Yep.
Jay, what do you have for us today? What are we talking about?
And the Super Mundane for today is who would be the best, and I guess worst, at building a treehouse or a play area for kids, basically.
Mr. Fantastic is an easy pick right off the bat.
Science, true.
Yes. Well, he's going to get you a really cool treehouse. He's going to stretch up there and just put it together himself. He might get a little distracted. It might come to life.
Yeah.
Like, it might just be a living treehouse.
Or it might, grow super tall, or he made a massive tree out of it, which could be cool.
He will make a super science-y version. It might be a little dry, you know? I mean, he's got kids. He knows what kids like. But he also has genius mutant kids, so maybe his version of what kids like wouldn't be everyone's.
Exactly.
Then again, the Baxter Building is pretty fun. Like, you know, he's a good pick. Tony Stark, kind of a double-edged sword, because he's going to have a really fun treehouse. It also might have a stripper pole.
Exactly.
So, or a wet bar. I mean, he's clean and sober now, but...
And also, at a certain point, when does it lose that element in fun of being a treehouse? It might as well just be an apartment that happens on a tree.
When is it just a townhouse in a tree?
Yeah.
So, Tony Stark's an interesting way to go on that one as well. Beast from X-Men, especially after what he did to the Xavier Institute, when it was rebranded as the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning in Wolverine and the X-Men, it's got like floating towers now, and like part of it is built on living ground. We'll get into that another time. But it's like sentient. The grounds are actually sentient, but also like the lockers are danger rooms sometimes, like the school. So that comic's fantastic. Again, you're getting into double-edged sword territory.
Right. You know what might be interesting? I was thinking about this. Is Doctor Strange might make.
I was about to suggest, because I'm just going through the Illuminati at this point.
Yeah, really. No. Yes. No.
Doctor Strange. Here's the thing: we've had a lot of fun today talking about Lovecraftian horrors. I don't think Doctor Strange is your man.
Maybe not your man, but he could make like a cool tree that talks, and like it might know the history of your life. I don't know. Sees into your soul.
That's a double-edged sword at best.
Sword. I know we said we can't use him, but I would like to note that Batman did turn a cave into a pretty badass hangout.
I feel like Batman is the right answer. I feel like he's the guy. But again, he's so militaristic.
Yeah.
He's not militaristic, that's the wrong word. He's so utilitarian. Everything would serve a purpose.
That's true.
Dick Grayson might actually be a better pick.
Yeah, Dick Grayson would be... And here's the thing. He would... Now, what are some of the fun elements of a treehouse, right? You want to have maybe like a swing or a tire swing.
Or a zip line.
And that's straight up Dick Grayson Nightwing's thing.
He might forget nets. He might be a little high, but all you have to do is just give him a little reminder. I mean, he's not an idiot.
Actually, and he's a trained trapeze artist. I mean, he might have some great thoughts in mind of safety.
That's true. I mean, I guess that's true. That's where I thought you were going with that. But that's true. He would know the intricacies. I mean, his parents died from unsafe trapezery.
Exactly.
He's not going to his trapezery, not the
unsafe trapezery.
But he's definitely
going to a cold cut case of unsafe trapezery.
There's no way he's not putting a net. You're right. He would absolutely make sure everything's safe. There's no mobsters around to take away all the bolts and kill them.
Because look, if we're going to be fair, like if we Batman has a big thing about guns, right? He never wants to have guns around. Dick Grayson's probably big thing is going to be gotta have nets, guys. Gotta make sure there's nets and everybody's safe. And
that's his fear.
That's his biggest fear.
I feel like Dick Grayson is a really good answer because he's going to build a really fun, because he's very fun at heart. He's the one who, like, he's the Batman who smiles.
Yeah, exactly.
When he was Batman, he was the one who was light.
Heck, he works with kids, or did work with kids.
Yeah.
Red Robin, Tim Drake, he had to work with Damian, who could be probably the worst kid to have to work with.
He managed to make Damian into a halfway decent Robin as he was Batman, which is a challenge, because that dude used to carry a katana.
Yeah.
That 10-year-old used to carry a katana.
Yes. So if you can make that kid pretty cool to hang out with, I mean...
It's probably... I mean, there could be other great answers out there, but I feel like he is right up at the top.
This feels really solid, yeah. So, Dick Grayson, formerly Nightwing.
Yeah.
Solid pick for this. Okay, now, who would be our reverse? Who would be the worst to build a treehouse?
Deadpool.
You really want Deadpool to
No. Here's the thing. I've thought about this.
Okay.
There's no way he's not the right answer for this. Because there's no way... Because his idea of a treehouse is you take an apartment room, like the room of the toilet from an apartment, or like the bathroom, you slam it into a tree, you fill it with porn and an inflatable like bounce house, and like...
Oh, you're right. He would be terrible at making a treehouse. Also, the guy lives in...
just half-stale pizza boxes.
He also lives in a world where he doesn't have to worry about death, and one big thing about treehouses is safety. We just talked about a guy setting up nets. This guy's not going to set up anything.
He's more indestructible than Wolverine, and that's saying something.
That's saying a lot.
That's a challenge.
I mean, no firm nails, nothing.
Don't get me wrong. I want to see what Wade Wilson's treehouse looks like. I never want anyone below the age of anything to set foot in it.
Nobody but Wade Wilson to be living in this place.
No one can go in that room ever.
Okay, so Nightwing, or I guess just Dick Grayson, is the best pick for best to build a treehouse.
That's right.
Wade Wilson should never be allowed near lumber and trees, ever.
Or, let's be fair, hammers.
Or hammers.
Any kind of power tools.
And before we close out this episode, one thing we'd like to note is, we really want you guys out there in the community to get out and, check us out. If you're checking us out on the site, on partialarc.com, check us out on iTunes, leave some reviews, leave some comments, so we can get some feedback on what you guys are reading, what you might like to hear out of us from the pull list as well.
Yeah, send us an email. We're reachable on email. Jay, the email address.
The email is becausecomics@gmail. And again, of course, if you're interested, you can check out other podcasts we have on partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. And as always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at because_comics. And of course, be sure to check out the content from our wonderful Mike Christensen here at supergeekmike.com.
I definitely am not scanning pages from the Necronomicon and posting them. That's definitely not what I'm doing.
It's not what he's doing.
I'm not trying to drive the internet insane. It doesn't need any help anyway.
Tune in next week if we're insane. And remember...
I buried Jay.
Just it cuts out immediately.
If you listen to this episode backwards at the same time as Wizard of Oz, you can hear me murder him.
That's true. That does happen in one of the... oh my God! Because comics.